You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. So another day, and three more LSU football players have hit the portal on Friday. Cornerback Jeremiah Hughes, safety Ryan Yates, and linebacker Christian Braithwaite all jumping in the portal now. 6 scholarship players for LSU have entered the portal so far in this cycle. Of course, it started with Jackson Howard. We've seen Connor Gilbreth, the tight end, jump in the portal as well. And I think mostly, I want to talk about Hughes, Yates, and Braithwaite in their positions in particular. But I want to give you a big picture thought on this first with 6 players in the portal. When we started and we learned Jackson Howard was going to go in the portal, we kind of did the unofficial number game, right? And they were at 88 going into the fall. So LSU was going to have to lose at least 3 more scholarship players after Howard. Well, now they've lost a total of 6. So LSU is within the 85 scholarship. They're below the 85 limit now. And we know they're targeting players in the portal, most prominently at defensive line. And so they've got room on the, I got a little frog in my throat. They got room on the roster with which to work right now. And I'm going to go through these positions here in just a quick second, but I think what's most important, what stands out most to me when we look at these players that have entered the portal, I've kind of pointed out Jeremiah Hughes as sort of the poster child for my argument against Brian Polian. And I want to be clear, this isn't a Jeremiah Hughes thing. And I don't mean to come across as being critical of that young man. By all accounts, he did everything he was supposed to when he was here, worked very hard. It just didn't work out. He was a 3-star from Las Vegas, and he was probably just over-recruited. He shouldn't have been here. And hat tip to that young man, and maybe in a different era, he comes as a 3-star, stays, grows, develops, works harder, gets better, and makes an impact. Maybe, but it's just a different era with the portal. So again, it's nothing against Jeremiah Hughes. I want to be very clear about that. There's nothing personal at all with that young man. I wish him all the success in the world. But the point I've made time and again to illustrate the difference between what Brian Polian did as a philosophy and Frank Wilson is really best illustrated with a guy like Hughes, where LSU invested the resources to fly to Las Vegas to recruit a 3-star cornerback out of Las Vegas. You flew over 100 3-star cornerbacks between Baton Rouge and Las Vegas to get there. And when you're in Louisiana, there's no reason to do that. And what the first thing that popped into my brain was after the spring game, Brian Kelly's meeting with the media, and he's asked about Corey Raymond and Bo Davis. And do you remember what Brian Kelly said immediately after spring game with those 2 guys?
The long approach to this is just look at who's on campus, who we're recruiting. And look, we got to win right away. And I get that. And we're going to put together a defense that puts us in a position to win the SEC. But if you want to look at this from a longer view, I've had a lot of players in front of me over the past 3 months since we've hired those 2 that I hadn't seen in a couple of years.
Yeah, okay, you get it, right? Brian Kelly told you that point blank. You were flying to Las Vegas to recruit Jeremiah Hughes, fly into Minnesota to recruit Jackson Howard, flying to Ohio to recruit Jackson McGowan, and then all of a sudden all the guys with Louisiana ties start running the thing and you go, oh, this is what it's supposed to look like. Yes, you're not at Notre Dame. You don't have to go to 18 different states to put together a recruiting class. And you're starting to see that. I want to illustrate this as well. From the 23 class, remember, that was Brian Kelly's first full signing class. He got here in 22. They pieced it together. 19 of them were transfers. But the 23 class was Brian Kelly's first full year recruiting. They've already had 10 players from that 23 class enter the portal. 10. Lance Hurd from Louisiana, Kai Preen from Louisiana. Everyone else, Jaylen Brown, Florida. Jackson Howard, Minnesota. Ryan Yates, Texas. Christian Braithwaite, Texas. Jackson McGowan, Ohio. Jeremiah Hughes, Las Vegas. Michael Daughtry, Georgia. Connor Gilbreth, California. Do you understand? In that 2023 class, Kelly's first full class, 10 states were represented. 10 states were represented in that class. This year, the 2024 class, 6 states were represented. 18 players from Louisiana, 7 players from Texas, and then 1 each from Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and North Carolina. You have shrunken your target. Make sense? This is the fundamental shift you are seeing that Brian Kelly is learning about how to recruit here. And that's why the 24 class was awesome and the 25 class might be the best ever. Yes, you will get on a plane and go to Michigan to recruit the number 1 quarterback in the country. 100 times out of 100. You go recruit Bryce Underwood. 100 times out of 100. Do you get on a plane to fly to Las Vegas to recruit a 3-star corner? Or do you go get the kid like Bernard Causey out of New Orleans who's going to come here, his family can watch him play, and he's grown up his whole life wanting to put on the purple and gold, and he ain't going nowhere. That's the 3-star you take. Not the kid from Vegas. Again, I don't want it to sound like I'm coming down on Jeremiah Hughes. That's not the point at all. It's just an illustration of the differences in styles and how Polian recruited and how Frank Wilson and the staff are taking things forward. So, a couple of things. As far as, let me go position by position with Hughes, Yates, and Braithwaite to look at corner, safety, and linebacker. We'll do this quickly. Cornerback wasn't going to be impacted this year by Jeremiah Hughes either way. The only way that LSU improves at cornerback is if Jair Brown, J.K. Johnson are studs. That's it. If Ashton Stamps and Javen Toviano develop into great players. If Zy Alexander comes back healthy and is ready to be a star. That's the only way you're better at corner. Yes, you could go hit the portal, find a starter, which would be awesome if there's that prospect that hits the portal. But ultimately, losing Jeremiah Hughes is not going to materially affect you this year at all. Your numbers are fine. You have 9 scholarship cornerbacks on your roster right now, including the true freshman. 9. You have 9 scholarship cornerbacks on your roster. You have plenty. You have plenty of numbers. Do you have anybody that can play? And the onus is on Corey Raymond to get the guys he has ready to be better this year than they were a year ago because it flatly wasn't good enough. Staying in the secondary with Ryan Yates, I'm kind of bummed about Yates because I think Yates is one of those guys. He was a 4-star. He was the 20th best safety in the country. And he was a guy in a different era that stays and becomes a really good player. But in the portal era, there's no reason to stay, especially because the portal giveth and taketh away. When you got Major Burns and Sage Ryan both to return, remember, and then you went out in the portal and you added Jordan Gilbert. Well, of course you're going to add Jordan Gilbert. Gilbert's a guy who's been a 2-year starter in the SEC. So you get a more veteran player, a more experienced player, boom, that helps you immediately as an immediate starter. So absolutely you take Jordan Gilbert, but the trade-off is you lose a talented young player like Yates. Yates is one of those guys from Denton in the Dallas area that went to a prep school that was kind of one of these football factories. So he showed up on campus like, mentally ahead of a lot of freshmen because he went to a really good high school football program that allowed him to be ready to play. Played in all 13 games last year for LSU. He's a backup safety, played on special teams. So Yates is one of those guys that I think is going to go on, and you hate to lose because he's going to be a really good college football player, and you wish that there was a path for him to stay, but I get it. Major Burns, Sage Ryan, Jordan Gilbert ahead of you. Deshaun McBride, a 5-star coming in. You've got Austin Osbury and Langlois as well, who's still hanging around. You got Jackson and Allen, and then you're bringing in Joel Rogers. Like, you've got numbers. You got 9 safeties. You got 9 scholarship safeties, including 2 transfers you brought in. One of them was a 2-year starter in the SEC. So the path to the field this year wasn't there for Ryan Yates, so he's going to go somewhere we can play this year. And I can't say I fault him for it, but that's the trade-off in the portal. If you're going to take Jordan Gilbert, you're going to lose Ryan Yates. So that's the decision you have to make as a program as you're building your roster year to year. And then Christian Braithwaite, this is a guy, Braithwaite's out of the Houston area, and he was, a 3-star, the number 400 overall prospect in the country, the 38th best linebacker in the country, and he's just undersized. When he was 6'1", just over 200 pounds when he signed with LSU. He was a Baylor lean, and then LSU was able to flip him. And, I mean, he was a Baylor commitment, actually, and LSU flipped him back in October of 2022, so got him away from Dave Aranda's squad. Undersized out of high school, probably a reach in taking him when you did. But, Brian Kelly, it was interesting because Brian Kelly was on that podcast with God Bless Football, right, the Le Batard podcast. And, he was asked about NIL, and the thing that Brian Kelly said that he loves most about coaching actually is the development piece. Give a listen.
This is my 33rd year, and my why is player development and developing players and the relationships with players. And I can tell a parent, look, I can help develop your son be a better husband, a better father, a better technically and tactically. I can develop him as a football player. I can help him graduate. I don't know what he's worth.
Okay, so like the point, it was a question phrased about NIL, but Kelly's telling you, like, his why in coaching is player development. Braithwaite's a guy that in Brian Kelly's career, he'd love to get here and develop. You bring in the 3-star, you watch him grow physically, and you make him into a great player. And Kelly probably sees seeds of that in Braithwaite, or saw seeds of that in Braithwaite. But again, it's just a different era. You've got Penn and you've got Perkins on the inside, backed up by the Weeks brothers, and then you're bringing in 3 freshmen with Devon Keys, Tylen Singleton, and Xavier Atkins. So if you're Christian Braithwaite, now you're at best, you're the 8th linebacker at best going into this season. So you have the opportunity to go somewhere where you can get on the field. Don't blame him. Good luck to him. So 3 more Tigers hit the portal. LSU under the 85 scholarship limit now. So open season. Portal giveth, the portal taketh away. Time to see some of those commits start to roll in. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.